cuss a lot whenever I ask questions and then like post it on Instagram or something.
I'll just start recording it, and if I mean, normally in my class, I try not to use like a bad word, but I like to use hell or damn or something like that. It's not bad, I guess, compared to the rest of the structure that I know. But
Thank you.
I have a question. So, if I want to study these on the lab, there's little quizzes I can take, right, to practice all the definitions, or should I not really worry about it?
I mean, the thing about this class is that it's online class, and the homework and quiz exam and all that thing is online. So, I mean, for me to tell you to memorize this definition is stupid because you could just Google it for like 5 seconds. Not gonna be a big deal, right? So,
Okay.
I mean, I'm not like technically you're not supposed to be Googling or whatever an email exam or whatever, but uh, I don't care honestly because I mean I can't control what you do on your computer while you're taking the exam. You can even hire some agent or some tutors or whatever working with you on the exam, and there's nothing I can do about it, right? So
Yeah.
I, I'm
Okay.
I'm not gonna tell you to do something that I can't control or something that I might done if I were you or something like that. So I mean I'm not gonna lie. When I was taking online classes, I'm just gonna ask before back in my college. I guess I was going to say this when I'm recording, but yeah. So basically, just do what you need to do. I'm not gonna stop you from googling or whatever. So feel free to do whatever as long as you try. I guess.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? And just a reminder, the quiz, all the quizzes has 2 tries, 2 attempts. So you try I don't remember how many attempts I said last time, but I changed it to 2. So you try the first attempt and you do too well on it, you can always try it again. So, and I don't know if the question is going to be the same or not, but I think the only thing different is the numbers. So let's say question 1 just have different numbers, and attempt 1 is look different than attempt 2. The only thing that different is the number. So um, after you finish the quiz attempt 1 and you did horrible on it, go back, review it, and try to do it on papers or whatever. So and then try the quiz again. Then for sure you get higher grade than the first time. You would actually try to fix your mistakes in the first attempt. And if you try the first attempt and you do too well and you don't know what the hell you're doing, just send me an email or come to class early and ask for a question or whatever. I'll try to answer them because most of the time people have the same question as you do. So if you don't know how to do something, then chances are like 2 or 3 other people can do the same thing. So, and I don't mind to answer quizzes or exam question as long as you ask them. So it's not like I will tell you, no, it's quiz question, I'm not gonna answer it or something. It's kind of pointless. So if no other question, let's go to chapter 2.1 and 2.2. So 2.1 is frequency distribution and 2.2 is histogram. So, but since they're very close to each other, I'm just gonna combine them into one. And after this section, I think I will show you. Yeah. So as we go to this PowerPoint, there will be example. I'll show the example on Excel, so you can actually follow through, and if you wanted to. If not, you can always go back and watch the recording or something. So frequency distribution. So frequency distribution is just basically just a table that has a couple of categories, and next to it the number of frequencies that something occurred. So that's what frequency is. Just the number of something occurred. And in a frequency distribution or frequency table, there's a thing called low class limit. It's just a number, the small number that can belong, the smallest number that can belong to each of the different classes. And these are just definition. I'll show you what it look like and how to find them in a moment. Upper class limits are just the largest number that can belong to each of the different classes. Class midpoints is just the values in the middle of the class. Class width is just how wide that class is. And typically, it's just the upper class minus lower class. So for example, this is what the frequency distribution or frequency table look like. And all this right here are lower class limits. So 75, 125, 175, 225, and 275 are lower class limits. Each of this right here is called a class. So 75 to 124 is a class itself. So and then whatever highlight in blue are the upper class limits. And the frequency are this right here. So this are what you call frequency. So basically this number 11 right here, meaning that 11 data points out of all the data values or the sample values, 11 of them are the number between 75 and 124. 24 of them are between 125 and 174. So it's just number of occurrences that happen between this lower class and upper class limits. So you can find a low class width. I have to take it back. So the class width is just the next class limit, the next lower class limit subtract the previous class limits, lower class limits. So you can see, you can find class width by using any two of these numbers. So you can use it by 275 minus 225, that's also 50. Normally class width are really determining what the next lower class limit is going to be. The class midpoint is just basically upper class limits subtract lower class limits and divide by 2. So that's just a value in the middle of 75 and 124. So in that case, the first class midpoint is 99.5 because that's the value between 75 and 124. And you can find different class midpoint by just subtract them and divide by 2. In here, I'll show you the steps to construct the frequency distribution. They are good and all that thing until you actually do them. So let's see. So the first step is to select a number of classes. Normally in exams or in the question or quizzes, they'll tell you how many classes there will be. So if they don't tell you how many classes it will be, then just give them a number. So normally I'll pick somewhere between 5 and 20 classes. 20 or more is too much. 4 or less is too little. So as a lazy person, normally I'll just pick 5. I'm not gonna pick 20 or 10 or whatever. I'm just gonna pick 5. But that's dependent on use cases. The next step is to calculate the class width. That is to subtract the. So what I normally do is just take the maximum values, subtract the minimum values, and divide by number of classes. That's how I normally find the class width. The third step is to find a first lower class limit. So normally this first lower class limit, I'm just going to pick a values that just barely below the maximum, the minimum values. So that's the first lower class limit. Whatever value it is, as long as it's less than the minimum values. And then I'll add the class width from the step 2 right here to the first lower class limit. That will give me the next lower class limit. And I'll do the same thing to the rest of the lower class limit to define them. And yeah, most of these steps make more sense when you actually do it. So after I found all the lower class limits, I'm just going to list them vertically. So in the table, they were just like next columns, I guess. And then they find upper class limits. After I have the table set up, all I need to do is go through the data, the whole data set, and find the number of, every time I see the values, value from the data that fall between the class, I'm just put a mark or a tally or whatever that thing is, and count. That's basically it. If you do it by hand, right? And so let's make an example, I guess. So for this class, normally you have a let me share my screen instead. So you haven't noticed in this class, you have data set, data points. So where the hell is it? Where's the website for this thing? Okay, so I'll post this. Let me download this one first. Sorry, they told me to teach this class like just before a week before, so okay, so normally for this class, most of the homeworks and most of the question is going to have the data set from the book. So the book came with a bunch of data set, and I'll upload this later in the D2L. But for now, let's go back to the homework and try one of the problems. I was just going to show an example of how to construct the frequency distribution, but I need some data first. Okay, so this one. So for the homework or quizzes, for example, so whenever you want to copy this data set and you want to put in Excel, there's a little, I don't know if you can see it. Next to the table, there's normally have like a little icon right here. You have to click on it. And normally don't click copy to clipboard, just click open in Excel. If that's the case, when you select that option, it's going to put everything in a table for you. So you don't have to do any kind of formatting or whatever. So normally you might want to do that for this class because we use Excel to do everything in here. So you want to be able to know how to do that. So for this case, let's go to, before that, let me give you a little introduction to Excel, I guess. Assuming that most of you know what Excel is and kind of somewhat familiar with it. But so Excel is basically just a tool that people use for accounting and collecting data and all the things. So when I was taking some engineering classes, we use Excel to collect we hooked up the Excel to some kind of machine to measure the hardness of the material. So every time you use the hardness testers or whatever that thing is, and it will record the amount of hardness in Excel. So that's what engineers using. But for accounting, they use way more than this. They use all kind of functions and all that kind of thing. I don't even know how to use it, but basically you could use Excel for whatever, a lot of things. So in this case, each of this right here, you notice it say B and 3, column B and row 3. That's the name of this cell. So each of this is called a cell, and this one right here is C3. So every time the books, or I'm referring to cell C3, this is the cell C3 right here because it has column C and row 3. That's why you call it C3. This one right here is F8 because it's under column F and row 8. So there's a lot of things you can do to Excel, but I'll show them as we working through example. But for this case, just knowing that a cell is just a you can identify a cell by using the column name, the letter on the columns, and the number on the row. So for in Excel, people normally use Excel for calculating stuff. So if you were to type number, let's say 12 minus 1 or something, that's what I hate about Excel. Normally, just assuming that you have a certain number, certain data type. So whatever you type in here, they're just assuming that this is the date, but I don't want that. Let's see. So normally I use Excel for calculators. So
Hi. When you're doing that with Excel, you put equals first, right? And then it'll give you the answer.
yeah. So I'm just showing that whatever you type in here without equal, it's just gonna take the value as is. But sometimes Excel just being annoying, trying to be a smart ass, and try to type a date or something like that. Sometimes it's helpful, and most of the time it's just annoying. So, so just like she said, normally if you want to do some kind of calculation or something, you want to put type equal first. Let me zoom in so you can see it. So normally you want to do some kind of calculation. All you need to do is to type equal, and then let's say I don't know how to do math, so I'm going to do 12 minus 3. So when you hit enter, instead of showing 12 minus 3, it's just going to show 9 because 12 minus 3 is 9, hopefully. And when you look at this, you might have no idea what the heck you were typing. But when you look up here, right here, you can see that this is the value you type, and right here is the value that the result of the value that you type. So in here, I type 12 minus 3. And in the cell is showing 9 because that's the result. If you want to double click on it, it will show you exactly what you type. So sometimes it can be really annoying, but you can see exactly what you type later. I'll show you how to, I guess I'll show you now. What the hell is it? So you go to, what the hell? Somewhere in here is has an option to show you the what you type. Somewhere in here. Oh yeah. So you go under formulas, and in here there's a button called Show Formula. It will show you exactly what you type instead of the results of whatever you type. But when you do that, it's gonna mess up your template. And don't worry, I don't push you on this. Just want to show you what you can do. So 12 minus 3, you can do addition, subtraction. Let's see, 12 divided by 3. So I would assume the answer is 4. And instead of typing, let's say I wanted to take the result of 12 minus 4, 12 minus 3 minus 12 minus 3 divided by 12 minus 12. What the hell did I say? Divided by 3. So normally in math, you know that this is kind of way that's kind of wrong, because if I want to take 12 minus 3 first, I want to put this in the parenthesis, and then I take the result and divide by 3. So a mathematically correct way to write this is put 12 minus 3 inside the parenthesis and divide by 3. But I guess Excel smart enough to know that you want to subtract before you divide. I guess not. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I guess it doesn't this time. So if I want to take 12 minus 3 divided by 3, I can do this, type in directly and hit enter. It will give me 3, right? But sometimes you don't want to do this because the value can change and all that thing. So I know exactly what 4 minus 3 is. So up here, I have 12 minus 3, which is 9 right there. So all I need to do is just type equal to, and I click on this cell. And then I divide it by 4. So basically I'm just clicking on the cell to reference the cell values instead of typing the value directly. So I can just do that instead of changing it. So if I were to go back in here and change, instead of say 12 minus 3, I can just say 12 minus 4. And the value right here update automatically because I'm referencing the values in these two cells instead of typing value directly. So that's why you call referencing values in Excel. I mean, some of you, these are basics. Some of you never seen this before. Some of you, you're like, I don't give a damn. So, but normally you need this if you want to make your life easier in a quiz, exam, or whatever, or even in real life when you actually go to work and get a real job and get paid doing things. I try not to teach you guys with TI calculator since that thing is basically useless in real world. I got different jobs and a bunch of jobs and all that thing, but I never actually used TI calculator for any of my work, so I'm not gonna bother with that. So right now, I forgot. Let's go back to the example. I got sidetracked. So I'm gonna show you how to construct the frequency distribution. So when I work with Excel, I try to make things as clear as possible. So I try to label my numbers. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'll type number of classes. When you double click on the cell, it's gonna adjust the width of the cell of the columns, so the whole text can fit through it. So normally I will label what number it is. So in this case, I will select. Let's see. I can't do 4, so I'm gonna do 5. So I'm gonna select the number of cells to be a number of classes to be 5. The next step, let's see what the next step is. So the next step is to find the class width. But before I can find the class width, I have to find maximum and minimum value first. So otherwise, you're going to do a lot of fixing and changing and all that thing. So right here, I'm going to label this value minimum. If I spell right, maximum. So to find minimum values, normally you will find. I mean, assuming that everyone know what minimum and maximum values are, just go in here through this whole data set and look for the smallest number and the biggest number. So I can do that by hand, or I can just type in maximum. I mean, to find minimum, I just type mean. And then what I do is I highlight all this cell of data right here. So you notice the whole column A1 to A20 contain our data. So I'm going to highlight A1 all the way to A20. So after I highlight everything, I'm going to close the parenthesis. And if I hit enter, it's going to give me the smallest numbers out of all this data right here. So this whole data set, the smallest number is, according to Excel, is 17.7. And to find the maximum, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to type, not the same, but the same idea. Equal to max, open the parenthesis, highlight A1 all the way to A20, close the parenthesis. If I hit enter, it's going to give me 44.9. So this value right here is maximum. This value right here is minimum. You can see it say 17.7, but you look on top on this line right here, it say min A1 colon A20. Colon just means that it's going to highlight everything in the middle. Anything between A1 to A20. So that's the easiest way to find max and min. Traditionally, you have to go through and look for the smallest number. That can be time consuming. So to find the class width, our formula say maximum minus minimum and divide by number of classes. So I'm going to take the maximum. So instead of typing in 44.9, I'm just going to click on the D4. That's where the cells for maximum value is, minus, and I'm going to click on the D 3 that has the minimum values. I'm going to close the parenthesis, and I'm going to divide it by the number of classes. So, I mean, I have two options here. Either I type in number 5, or I'm going to click on D2, which has the number of classes. So in here, you don't see 44.7 minus the 17.7 divided by 5. You only see D4 minus D3 divided by D2. So basically everything in here is just referencing the cells instead of the value itself. So doing this can be helpful. I'll show you. So according to this, the class width is 5.44. And doing this is helpful. Let's say, for example, if I want to change from number of classes from 5 to 6, or let's say 5 to 10. Either you go, if you were to type in a number here, then you have to go back in here and change this number to 10 instead of 5. Or I can do this directly. So as I change the number of classes, this values also change. So that's the reason why people, if you want to use Excel efficiently, normally people just go into reference the values instead. So the class width is 5.44, and normally I don't like decimal numbers. It's kind of confusing. So I'm going to round it to, I don't know whether I should round up or down. So let's round down. I like multiple of 5, so I'm going to round down to 5. So in Excel, there's a way to round it down by, in Excel, there's a button right here under Home. If you go all the way over in the middle somewhere, there's a button with the, I don't know how to zoom in here. I try to zoom in on my Mac, but I guess I can't. But if you click on the little icon right here, the one with the right arrow, the arrow point to the right with a bunch of 3 0 in there, it's going to round the number. I mean, it's going to decrease the decimal places. So I guess it's going to round to 5. So I keep clicking until I want until I get the decimal that I want. If I want to increase the decimal, I can always do that. In this case, I'm going to decrease the decimal to 5 to just the 0th place. So it's going to be the number 5. So low class limit. So normally I like to write two I like to write to create 2 new columns. This column I'm going to put all the low class limits, and this column I'm going to put all the up class limits. So in this case, so the next step, the step 3 is to pick a first low class limit. So the rule is pick the values that are just below the minimum. So in this case, I'm going to pick, let's say 17. So the first low class limit is 17. Not because it has to be 17, but I just like the number, the whole number below that number. So 17, you can pick 15, you can put 10, you put 0, it doesn't really matter. As long as below the minimum values, as long as smaller than the minimum values. And I'm saying that the class width is 5, so I'm going to take 17. So instead of, I can do this, I can take 17 plus 5, it's going to be 22. So either I type in 22 directly, or I can just type equal to. I'm going to click on 17, and I'm going to add. In this case, I'm just going to type 5 for now, make it easier. If I do that, right now, I'm going to get 22. So either I can type in 22 directly, or let Excel do the math for me. Because even though I studied math for years, I never trust myself on adding and subtracting or any kind of calculation. So 25, 22. So the next one is going to be 22 plus 5, which is 27. Again, either I can type in 27 directly, or I can just click on this cell right here, and you move this mouse to the bottom right corner, you see the mouse. Can you see the shape of the mouse change from a white red cross to a black cross? If I were to click my mouse and hold it, drag it down. Let's see, 1, 5. So I have 4. I have 2, so I'm just gonna click 3 more empty cell to make it 5, right? So I have to drag it down. So let's double check the math. So 17 plus 5 is 22. 22 plus 5 is 27. 27 plus 5 is 32. 32 plus 5 is 37. So the math add up, I guess. Okay, so the next step is the upper class limit. So normally the upper class limit is just a value right below 20, the next upper class limit. So 22, the next lower class limit is 22. So I will take this value at 21. Basically, just one value is below the next lower class limit. Or I can just do 21.9999. Doesn't really matter as long as just below this value right here. But since we don't have to care about decimal that much, I'm just going to put 21. That should be more than good enough. So since this one right here has 1 decimal place, I'm going to make this value is 1 decimal place. I'll pick 2 decimal places. I'll make 1 more decimal than the data values. That's the rule in statistics, I guess. So instead of making 21, I'm gonna make it 21.99, 2 decimal places. So as you can, this value right here, the next upper class limit, I'm going to do 26.99. You notice it's just 0.01 below the values, the lower class limit, the next lower class limit. So this one right here is going to be 31.99. The next one is going to be 36.99. And this is the last upper class limit. Typically, it'd be whatever you want it to be. But in this case, I'm going to make it, let's see. Since I don't want to make another class, I'm going to make this 45.99. Yeah, it's weird and all that thing, but I don't want to make more work for myself. This last upper class limit can be whatever. It can be 44.99 if you want it to, but in this case, I just want to be 1 number above this maximum values. As long as the last upper class limits cover the maximum, I should be fine. Okay, so so we have low class limits and upper class limits. So the next one is frequency. So I'm going to make another column called frequency. So normally I'm going to go through this point, all this data value right here. I'm going to just put a tally mark in here. But since I can't do that in Excel, I guess I can't do that on paper either. So I'm going to skip this step where we're supposed to do this by hand. That's what we normally do in class. So I'm going to go straight to Excel, I guess. So let's try this. So this is the step where I do by hand in class and go through all these points and put like a check mark every time I see the values. But I guess we can do this in here. So let's see. I'm not assuming you guys are gonna do it by hand either in the homework or quizzes. So I guess I can draw in here. Oh yeah, I can draw in here. So let me try to draw something. Okay, so the first one is 17.7. So 17.7 is between 17 and 21.99. So I'm gonna put a mark right there. 28.2 is between 27 and 31.199. So I'm gonna put a mark right there. Cross it out. Can you see what I draw on the screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the next value is 19.2. 19.2 is between 17 and 21.99. So I'm gonna put a mark right there. Cross this out. 28.8 is gonna be right here. Cross that one out. 33.5 is right here. Cross that one. 22.4, that's right here. Cross it. 22.7, another one. Cross it. 44.9. 26.2. As you can see, it's really boring. I'll do 2 more and then you get the idea, right? Yeah. So at the end, you just count how many mark it is. So let's say at the end, this thing has like, let's say it has 5. So at the end, I will just put 5 here. And this one, let's say it has 6. So I'm gonna put 6 in here. So 2, 1, and 1. So those are what you call a frequency distribution. It's just the how frequent the values fall between this these classes. So all this data right here, five data values fall between 17 and 21.9. So that's what you call a frequency distribution. And now it's pretty boring. Do it by hand. Let's do it using Excel. Okay, so since how many people have Excel installed on their computer?
I do.
I don't. Can I download it or something? Or
Yeah, as a student, you get it for free, and I'll show you how to get it. So you go to rcc.edu. You go to the Rock, and you log in using S number and your password, whatever you use to log into your D2L. In here, you scroll down. Pretty sure yours is going to say student tools or whatever that thing is. And you should see something called Office 365. All of you have access to this for free. Not free, you pay for tuition. So you click on it. Damn it, make me log in again. But you should see Office 365. Click on it and make you log in again. So as soon as you log in, there should be an option in here called Install Office. So just install everything, I guess, because I don't think you can choose an individual thing to install. So you click, when you click on it, it's going to download the file. It's 1.2 gigabyte. I already have it installed, so I'm not downloading it. So as soon as finished download, just install it just like normal. And you can use it for personal uses, or I mean, I would recommend it for personal uses, but for school uses, then you can use for papers, whatever. But for this class, for sure, you need Excel because I don't think you want to do this by hand. It's very boring, time consuming.
I have a question. So with the 5 through 20, would you recommend using like a lower number or the highest number, which is 20? What would you recommend us to use?
It really depends. I mean, it's not up to me to recommend because since when you do the homework in here, can you see they already have like they already chose. So I think if you look in further question, let's see. So can you see in here, it's already tell you that how many classes in here. So let's see, 2, 4, 5. So in here, they really expect you to create 5 classes, right? So it's not up to you to choose how many classes. So,
Okay, thank you.
I mean, for my homework, normally when in person class, I'll just tell my students just pick the easiest one, 5 or 6. Never go above 10 because it can be a lot of work. So normally you do homework by hand, then you can pick however many classes you want. But you want to do homework on the D2 on the MyLab, you have to follow the rule, or otherwise they'll mark it wrong or something. So normally what I learned is that the less option you have, the better. Since right now you don't have many options to pick, so you should be able to do it easily. And tomorrow I'll go over one of these homework problems in class, just so we can get our hand started on that. But for now, any question on this before moving to next step in Excel? We're not done in Excel, basically. The example is not done. But I just want to make sure we have a question on it. Okay, so if that's the case, then I'm using Mac right now. I have a video for Windows. I'll post that. But by default, for whatever reason, Microsoft turned off the data analysis 2-pack. That's something that we use a lot in this class, and I'll show you how to enable it. So you use Mac right now, you can go to Tool, and under what the heck is it? Excel add-in right here. You go under Tool, go down to Excel add-in. There's a thing called analysis 2-pack. Yours, this is the first time you use it, yours probably disabled. So just click on it, check mark, and click OK. After you do that, it seems like nothing happened. You don't need to restart anything. It seems like nothing interesting happened, but you go to data, on a data tool, on the top right, the very last option, there should be an option called data analysis. So this will only show up if you enable the analysis 2-pack. So let's create the frequency distribution using data analysis tool in Excel. So you click on it. There's a bunch of options for you to choose from, but the one you might want to be interested in is what the hell is it? Histogram. So select histogram. I don't know why it costs something better, but it is histogram. Select histogram, and then you hit OK. It's going to bring up this dialog right here. So remember, input range is the upper class limit. I think in my PowerPoints. Let's skip to my PowerPoint. So this slides right here just show you how to do it by hand. Nothing interesting. In here, the next step using Excel. So that's what I'm doing right now. So the input range is all the upper class limits. You don't really care much about lower class limits when it comes to Excel. So to select all the input range for the for this frequency distribution, all you need to do is just click on the little button right there on the input box. There's a little buttons on the side. Just click on it, and this whole thing will collapse, and you go back to the seat. What you need to do is click on it and drag it down. Make sure you select all the upper class limit, and you let the mouse go. And then you see in here, it's kind of grumble, whatever that thing is. You don't really care it is. And just know that whatever you highlight right here is already kind of marked right there, so you know what you highlighted or what you selected. Just click on this button to go back, or hit enter. But this button will take you back to the previous screen. Oh crap, wrong one. So I'll take it back. Input range is all the data values. So it's promise. So for input range, you highlight all the data. So in this case, A1 all the way to A20. So you can't see my hand right now, but I'm actually holding down the left click buttons. So if I were to select, let it go, you see where I selected. So to do it, just click on it and drag it all the way down to 20. So you see right here, you say A1 with a $sign in the middle to A20 with a $sign in the middle. Click on the button, go back. And for bin range, this is the upper class limit. So you click on the button right here, the little button, the dialog will collapse. So what you need to do is highlight all this, click on it, drag it down, and let the mouse go. So make sure you hold on to the mouse, to the left click buttons while you drag it down. You see in here, double check. So it's going to be D8, which is this cell right here, D8, that's correct. All the way to D12, right here, that's correct. Click on this button to go back. So normally, that's all you need to do. That's all the requirements to generate the frequency distribution. But this output option right here, you might want to change to, instead of the default is the new worksheet fly, just select the output range. That way, you don't have to create a new Excel sheet. So this one right here will create a new sheet on the bottom, and we don't want to do that yet. So for now, just put on the output range. So this one right here, meaning that you have to give a cell somewhere in here to put a result. So I'll click on the same button again, this button right here. And for this, I'm gonna pick somewhere that has a lot of empty spaces. So I'm gonna pick right here. And don't be afraid to use different spaces. I mean, there's a bunch of empty space. So don't put everything close together. It's kind of hard to see later on. So for this one right here, just select one cell. You don't need to highlight anything. Just click on one, any one, as long as empty spaces around it. And then you click on the back buttons. This red button right here will take you back. And you click OK. Okay, so this right here will give you a frequency distribution. So bin right here is the upper class limits. So this right here is the upper class limit. So you can change this to upper class. And then, that's how you generate the frequency distribution. Or you can always copy this. So I'll highlight frequency all the way to the last values. Don't care about the more. More just means that whatever above this number right here. So in our data set, 44.9 is the maximum number. So there'll be no data that greater than 45.99. So you don't have to worry about the last row. So just highlight all this. What I normally do is just either copy or cut, or in this case, I'm just gonna cut it. Cut means I'll take this place right here, the same thing as taking a scissor, cut it out and paste it somewhere. So I'll go over here, right click and paste. There you go. So in this case, according to this frequency distribution table right here, there will be 5 values in this entire data set, be between 17 and 21.99. 7 of them will be between 22 and 26.99. 3 of them will be between 27 and 31.99. 3 of them will be between 32 and 36.99. 2 of them will be between 37 and 45.99. So this is the easiest way to do to find the frequency distribution in Excel. So you can get rid of all this crap. You can just highlight. The thing about Excel is you can do whatever the hell you want. If you were to do, let's say you're making mistakes or something. Let's say I didn't mean to copy and paste this right here. All you need to do is go up here or go to File. Is it File? Or Edit. Go to Edit and click on Undo Typing or whatever. Or in this case, you can use a shortcut, Command Z. If I do that, I guess I took too many things. So let's say I delete this by accident, right? I'm just gonna delete it. So if I want to take it back, all I need to do is just click on this button, or bring back. So don't worry about making mistakes. Just keep undoing things until you actually get to the point where you want it. Go back, go forth. So don't worry about breaking things. Your computer will never explode on you. So that's the very first introduction of Excel. If you're not familiar with Excel, so programming or computer in general, just do some practice. It's not that difficult, especially if you ever go find a job nowadays. You have to use computer anyway. So, and I think that's it. 7:15. So next class we are going. What the hell is my? So next class we're gonna go to over some of these problems to practice, and so you guys can get started in Homework 2 if you want to. Otherwise, you can wait until the last minute and do them if you can still remember how to do them. And any other question before class is over?
So I'm just saying, if we were on kind of a schedule, what would we do is just chapter 1 homework, you would say?
Yeah, if you right now you should be able to do your chapter 1 homework, and
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Mhm. All right, I'll see you guys.
Thanks.
Adios.